Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red.
Luke Allport is the rider taking it out from the gun. Ramos goes up and over the top. 8 watts per kilo from Ramos out of the pen. Let's get this party started. 4 riders out front, 31 chasing. It is a huge competition today in this Category 1 race. Phil Graves kicks again. He's let them come back up onto his wheel, and then he's gone at 8.3 watts per kilo. Graves digs in to continue to make this hard work for the climbers.
They are starting to lose more and more ground. One kick, one attack won't work. They won't cut the mustard. They really do need to push on here, because if they push together, they will close the gap down.
Mark Dadson has been brought back into the group, and Luke Allport has got off the front. So Allport 20 seconds clear now in this Category 4 race. This is the chasing group behind. That's the Category 2 race going off in the distance. Now that is because the attack keeps coming from that Category 2 race. Attack, chase, X100, well, he is time trialing his way to the top of this mountain. Down they drop into the corner. Valles is here. They are pushing on. Allport moving through. Dadson coming up. They're going to drop. They're going to kick. You can see the banner. Allport is going to push. Allport has got it. Allport takes the win today.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's our monthly final for August in 2023. My, how time flies when you're having fun. And boy, we had a lot of fun in the women's race with some great action for me, Matt Payne, to put words to, and my co-host here in the studio, Emma Martin. Emma, we saw a cracking race on what is a very similar course here, but we don't just have that for people today. We also have a great guest who will be joining us in the shape of Kevin Poulton.
Yeah, we do. So something for everybody today. And if you haven't tuned into the women's race, do. It was an absolute cracker on the Jebel Hafit, because that's where the women were and that's where the men are as well today. So we're heading to Arabia and the Jebel Hafit course, 45 kilometers of racing, 1,041 meters of climbing. There are 5 300-meter sprint segments along the way, and those 2 climbs. Now, the first climb coming at 16.4 kilometers. It is only a Category 4 climb. I'm saying only, at 3.3 kilometers in length and an average gradient of 2.9%. And from there, we then drop into the tunnels, and then we roll out towards the Jebel Hafit. It is a Category 1 climb today with the checkered flag at the top. 10 kilometers of climbing, an average gradient of 7%, but we will see it kick to around 13% in places.
And we've got to remember, of course, that it's not just those categorized climbs. There's lots of other attack points on the way through for our riders in categories 1, 2, 3, and 4. So our riders set off in staggered starts. The Category 1 to Category 2 has a 5-minute gap, 2 to 3 a 10-minute gap, and 3 to 4 a 5-minute gap. But it's our Category 4 who will be away first. Some great teams in here, as well as our individual riders. And we have the Augustin team, DS Team Espresso, Red Arrows in here. We've also got the teams from the Team LDS, Team Lion, and the Red Furies. This is going to be an absolute cracker with a real who's who of Category 4.
Well, it is indeed. And Allport, Noack and Francis, I think they may well be unbeatable. The Aussie team obviously had Brett McMurtry in as well last month, but they won by 4 minutes in July. However, the Red Arrows, the Red Furies and Team LDS, I think, are going to be ones to watch and are really going to make this competitive. So as the seconds tick down, it is the August final on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and we are up and away. Away go our Category 4 riders. 30 riders on the start sheets today, 7 teams. They are up and out of the start pen, all as one group. and they are rolling.
Now, giving no spoilers away on the previous race, race start is critical. One thing we can almost guarantee on category 4 is that somebody is going to make it hard from the word go. Traditionally, this has been Ramos, who has been absolutely nailing it, but we've seen a number of riders take it on. Today, so far, a slightly more conservative approach.
What you do in the qualifiers may not be what you do in the final.
Okay, that
And
sounded
that's
almost
what's
like
playing
wisdom
out.
there.
Well, that's what's playing out. You could just put my little Yoda hat on at the moment, or whoever
That was
you
a
want
terrible
to
Yoda impression, if that's
I
what it was going
can't
to
do a
be.
Yoda impression at all.
Good.
But Allport is indeed rolling towards the front of this pack. And for category 4, they have gone out at a very steady state now. As Matt has indicated, regularly we've seen category 4 go out of the gun and go out of the gun hard. You know, Ramos has been absolutely historically renowned for a 7 or 8 watt per kilo sprint out of the start pen and to stretch the category 4 race field. But today, we have a group rollout from the start. We are rolling at around 2.5 watts per kilo, 44 kph for the first kilometre.
And we are almost now down at the bottom of the descent, which has just taken us off from the flat start, then into a descent. It drops, it rises, it drops and rises. You can see that top right-hand side of your screen. If you're new to MyWhoosh, then as you can see the head-up display that is in front of our riders. They get to see basically the same thing that you're seeing right now. So top center is the rider data. So watts, power, white when the rider is in the wind, it is green when they're in the draft. Their watts per kilo, power to weight ratio, time that they've been traveling, the heart rate, the pedal cadence or revs per minute, and the distance that they've covered of the 45k course. Bottom left hand side is your satellite navigation view. It tells you the rider's speed, the distance, and where they are relative to everybody else. You can see this is one big group, that's why you can see one disc. When that is dot to dot, it's when it's all long and strung out. Right hand side of your screen at the top is the course profile. That's the white line, that's not a heart rate line, that is the course profile with the gradient in percentage. So at the moment it's 1.92, 2.1, 2.2. Ascent, if it is a descent, then of course it has that minus number in front. Directly below is the heart rate zone of the rider that we are with, and you can see Luke Allport digging across quickly, kicking into that red zone into zone 6, and then backing right off to 2, now kicking again, and that is the zone that they are rolling in. Don't forget, though, the most important one from a racing point of view is where you are compared to the competition. And that is on the right-hand side of the screen. So you can see that the rider that we are in, Luke Allport, he'll be the rider who's highlighted in blue, which you can see on your screen. You can see that the red jerseys indicate the riders around him are all in the same category. That's category 4. It tells you their watts per kilo, it tells you their distance and time on screen. Now, because it's one big group, there's no time splits in there, particularly from front to back, but that will change when we go on to the climbs and descents with this rolling terrain. So really key information on there as this group roll out from the start. Category 4 are first starters. Category 3, they're our next group of riders to go, and it's a big race field in category 3 with some big teams in here. The Backstreet Boys are in, Colombian and Dean, the Bessenwagen Chasers cycling team have made their appearance, as we see on your screens, as well as the Escabajos team. Kick Watts and Team Ballot are back once again, and this could be quite an interesting mix here. For me, there's no real standout team. Have you been able to dive deeper and find a particular favourite here?
Well, I agree, there is no standout team. The Colombian Andean team were indeed the July winners, but it was 12 seconds back to the second team and only 30 seconds back to the third team. Now, a number of teams have got riders, well, all teams have got riders who have finished in the top 5 this month. So the Battlers, the Cycle Chasers, the Colombian Andeans and Kick Watts, as well as Team Ballot, all need watching out for.
So let's see who's going to take this out. The second of our race start on our main Sunday race club finals are go. Here we are. It's our category 3. This is about getting out with group. Do not get left behind. Do not let the race go in the first minute. You're not going to win it in the kick from the start line, but you could well go and take yourself out of contention very quickly. Some real interesting big names in here. Interesting to see Gates right up here in the mix. This group is a bigger pack that are moving out. That means more draft available, more chances to rest. Smart Rider is going to save a lot of energy here today as they make their way out from the start line. Now, you can just see this group coming away cleanly. One group on the road at the moment spread across from the gutter to the central white line, indicating that this group is not on full power at the moment. It's not strung out in one long line, just like you would see on a race in a velodrome or on the road. Long line of riders indicates that the pace is high and the pressure is on. When they are in one bunch, then the power generally isn't high enough that it's going to cause problems for the riders. This group, Emma, they are generally one of the fastest on the road because they're quite aggressive, but not necessarily from the start. And do you think that's a reflection of their experience, just being that little bit further up from our Category 4 riders in terms of racing?
Well, I was going to say yes and no. I also think it's because they have a lot of these riders race week in, week out. They know the competition and they know the strength and depth of the competition. We mentioned at the top of the show, 12 of this Category 3 pack have taken prize money this month already in the 3 qualifiers. So 3 qualifiers, top 5 prize money each week. So 15 possible slots filled by 12 riders. So they know there is strength and depth in this field. They are going to be looking at each other because those top riders are spread out throughout the teams. We do not have a dominant team, in my opinion, in this category. So I think we are going to see quite a different race from Category 3 today. It's going to be very tactical because they are going to be looking at each other and they're going to be waiting for someone to make a move.
Well, let's see where that's going to be. I think one of the key points is where the riders are approaching in Category 4. Category 4 at the moment, as you can see, are on the plateau. They're on a slight descent. There's a dip before we go into a big depression. Now, this big depression, it comes between Sprints 1, which is the Expo Sprint, and Sprint 2, the Abu Dhabi Sprint. And that is a big depression and then a kick. And that is a chance for the riders really to set their stall out, to break the group down to something more manageable. Remembering, a massive group like this is very difficult to be in the prize money. The odds are not great when you have 30 riders and only 5 prizes per category. Let's show you those prizes. So here we go. These are the prizes for the riders in at the moment AED. So you can see Category 1, we are in our, Category 4, we're in our finals, not in our qualifiers. So it's 2,160 AED for the win. And it's 5th place, 432. But there's also the team prize. 3 riders to count. So it's your fastest 3 riders time. 10,800 AED to add to that prize pot. And the chances are, if you are in with the team prize, you are going to be, if you're a winning team, you're going to have riders up in that top 5. It's pretty much impossible not to, so good day out at the office. Category 3, well, it's 3,600 for the individual classification win, 18,000 AED for the team win, so stepping up as you move up through from Category 4 to 3, and that continues, doesn't it, Emma?
Yeah, it does indeed. So another step to Category 2, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted these are identical to the prize funds in the women's race. So Category 2 today, the first prize, 6,000 AED through to 5th at 1,200, and that team prize, well, that bumps up to 30,000 AED in Category 2, and in Category 1, well, it bumps again.
It does indeed. So 10,000 AED for the win, down to 8,000 for second, 6,000 for third, 4,000 for fourth, 2,000 for fifth. It is also increased in the teams. Now, this is monumental. So the riders who are racing for the team competition, 5th place, $5,000. 4th place, 10,000 dirham, AED. So 5,000 for 5th, 10,000 for 4th, 20,000 for third, 30,000 for second, and a phenomenal 50,000 AED for first. Let's continue our Antipodean theme, which is when we do our conversion, because we always do a conversion to a currency, and because we have a great guest in Kevin Poulton with us, we're going to convert this to Australian dollars. So if Kevin was capable and had the power to take the win and wanted to know how much it was in Australian dollars, the individual win is 4,251 Australian dollars. If he was part of the winning team wins 50,000 AED, which, what's that in Australian dollars, Emma?
21,256.
Substantial amount of Australian dollars.
Obviously, subject to the current exchange rate.
As per Google and other search engines, and currency conversions are available. So massive prize fund available for our riders in all of our categories. Now, really interesting to see that Emma said we'd see different moves in the different categories, and Dexter Abello and Paolo Di Manuan at the moment have a 5-second lead on Montalvo, Hoyos, Mason and co behind massive group of chasers. But at the moment we have two breakaway riders here who are tapping along at a good pace here. 3.7 to 3.8. Both riders riding for Team Ballot. So the Ballot team maybe engaging in some slightly different tactics here, but great to see them go down the road. Can they really stretch this out?
We said this was open.
Yeah, time is going to tell. We're going to have to see just how well they can push on. Really interesting tactic, and great to see them trying something different.
Yes, absolutely fantastic to see them. Absolutely brave riding, hopefully rewarded. So first team, Di Manuan and Abello up and out from the pack, putting in an attack. They are currently 8 seconds clear of the rest of that Category 3 race field, and they're not even 5 kilometres into this race yet.
So remember, 45k in total, 1,041 meters of ascent by the time we hit our finish line at the top of the Jebel Hafid. Our Category 4 riders, the furthest down the road, they currently have covered 7.7k of that 45-kilometer course, and at the moment they've been racing for 12 minutes 53, 54, 55 seconds, so approaching that 13 minutes of racing time. So they'll be feeling the effects. We're on the climb out from the bigger depression that comes before the Abu Dhabi Sprint. So basically this part is from the first low point. This is the first really big kicker. It's not a categorized climb, but it will do damage. You can see this group now starting to stretch out as they come up. I think this should be nicknamed the roundabout climb, because basically you come up to this roundabout halfway up, and whether you're on an ascent or descent, it breaks the climb or the descent down. And it means that if you're strong, like Luke Allport is, you know it's a good place to kick. Now, Allport kicking in here, leading them through, got the gap at the moment, but look at the kick coming there. Lopez onto his wheel. He doesn't want to be left behind. The riders in the red here trying to respond. They've got to keep kicking. They need to go strongly here. They are putting the pressure down. So Category 4 and Category 3, aggressive racing. Next riders away, it's Category 2. And for a change, this is one of our smallest race fields.
It is indeed. So as we go now, we've been racing for up to close to 10 minutes for Category 3. That means that we're moving to the Category 2 start. And we've got a number of teams here today, Matt.
We have Café de Colombia, one of my favourite names, named after coffee. What else? The Café de Colombia squad, great 1980s race team as well. We got the GUW squad, Moretta's bike team. We got Panolati in the squad as well. Don't forget, we've also got surprise team, the Hitmen and the UAE Falcons. So a real mix of riders, of tactics, and the Hitmen with Bjarhed, Oisprit, Sprat and Simeons could well be the riders who are going to take this out. But we are into our countdown. Time to get our riders away.
Well, will the Hitmen do it again? They did it in July. Will they do it in August? We are away on the Category 2 race. We are going to see whether the Hitmen can score a number 1 again. But off they go. They are out of the start pen and on to the course today.
Do you know, I knew you were going to say that on the way through. Well, yeah, let's see. Will it be a number 1? Will they be the nearly men who got the number 2 spot? Didn't quite hit the top. Still could tune, generally.
Well, the pack are up and out of the pen, and it is a close pen and a steady start today for our Category 2 riders. They are all in here as we see a little bit of a push just to squeeze into the middle of the group, because in the middle of the group, you can tell by those individual stats on the top of the screen, the watts go green, indicating that rider taking a draft effect off of the other riders in the pack and getting an easier ride. That's where the riders want to be. They want to have an easier start, a more comfortable start, because it's up at the end.
It is up at the end, but it's harder, isn't it, when you've got a smaller group of riders to position yourself, to modulate your power, to be able to keep the power down in the right place, to keep yourself just off the front so that you are in the draft, but not at the back of the group where you could get caught out by somebody going down the road.
And I think all the things you would think about in terms of racing outdoors, if you were racing on the road or you were racing on a mountain bike, you know, there's so many things that you have to have your mind on to be watching. And there could be an assumption, well, I'm sat on my turbo trainer indoors, I haven't got to worry about the wind, I haven't got to worry about a stray dog, I've not got to worry about someone hitting my rear wheel with their front wheel and taking me down. But you do still have to watch, and you have to watch very, very closely and be mentally alert through the racing, because positioning in the pack is key to utilise the draft. Being able to take in all the stats on the screen and process it and to analyse your race and others' races is to know what tactics you and your team are going to play. There's just as much information to process here on an esports platform.
Probably the key thing is to not lose the draft. If you had to have one, if there was an early warning system and it bleeped in your ears, so it just went,
Practice, practice, practice.
Well, what would it be on here? For me, I think it would probably be draft. I think for me, the one thing you don't want to lose is draft, because that makes the biggest difference.
Well, to start with, you don't want to lose the start. You don't want to lose the draft. And you want to be thinking about what else is going on around you. Well, D'Emanuel and Abello, what's going on around them is the fact that they are putting in a bigger gap now as they are utilising this climb and continuing to push on in this Category 3 race. So D'Emanuel pushing on here, Abello, his teammate with him. They've now got a 16-second gap.
And this is on that climb out from the Big Depression as they come through. I won't call it the Great Depression. That was the 1930s American phenomenon. But as you can see, this is the climb up, and this is where the big power can pay off. Because if you put your foot down now, the gap opens, and it's opening. You can see Abello just kicking onto the wheel.
But I'm not sure why D'Emanuel is pushing on when Abello is his teammate.
Well, I think he was just trying to set the pace, and Abello maybe just wasn't quite able to hold it. Now, back to Category 4, Mark Dadson, a man who pretty much he follows, I think he's been moulded in the Phil Graves mould because he comes out and goes on the attack with regularity. Mark Dadson on the attack, being pulled back. Good to see Ian Lloyd back in here. Ian Lloyd, one of those riders in the MyWhoosh Championships who rarely came to prominence in that race. But all three categories on the road, well down the road. Let's move on to Category 1, the biggest race field of the day, the fastest race field of the day, and this is going to be an absolute cracker. We have the unstoppable trio, the Beast Mode team powered by Rose, Belgian Waffles, the Donut to Give Up squad. So our first 4 teams with some great team names in there. We have the Italian Gelato squad, the W team Paises bike, and the UAE clan team as well. And of course, the UAE clan team, traditionally the ones to beat out on the race. Will they be the ones to beat this time round? Well, the Belgian waffles run them close. Let's take a dive through them in a moment once we've got them underway, because this is our final wave start on the August finals. Away we go with the Category 1 riders. It's go time. It's power down time. Start critical. Get in there. Snooze you lose right now, because you will be distanced. You're not going to win it, but you could lose it on this kick out from the start, and they are already motoring. I've just seen a 47 kilometers per hour. Somebody was powering down, trying to get to the front.
Yeah, absolutely. Power's gone down, and they are motoring out the start pen. Look at the intention from Category 1 today.
And Emma, this field is absolutely stacked, isn't it?
Oh, it is a who's who of racing. Now, in terms of that team competition, Matt, you were right. The UAE clan team did indeed take the win, and they have taken the win quite regularly, but they are run so close. Now, in the July final, the UAE clan team did take the win by 26 seconds from the Belgian waffles, and the Italian gelato squad were 29 seconds back in third place. So less than 30 seconds separating the top three teams. And just a reminder, if you are watching and you are new to this, it is the top three riders in the team's time added together that gives the team position. Now, saying that, taking a look at the squads we've also got here today, Do Not Give Up has got Thiem, Walter, Kaminsky, Bjorklund and Cutler in it. Kaminsky's had a top 5 this month. The rest are always there or thereabouts in the top 10. Interesting as well, Juan Hoyos, who's had a 5th this month, and we've seen race really strongly, part of the unstoppable trio with Il Pino, who's come up from Category 2, as well as Primero. So really interesting to see what's going on in this team competition this month.
I wouldn't discount the Italian gelato, having been down and got hold of some sorbet in between the women's and men's race very briefly, true fact. But I would definitely not count them out, because when you've got riders like Zach Nair, Lucas Zanaska, Vidal Mer and Johan Noren, you've got a really solid team in there. And we're already seeing the pace that's being put down here doing damage. If you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see that the satellite view has got a little bit of a gap showing between the leading group, that is the first group on the road, and at least one rider behind. But that is what we see. You've got to be in here. You've got to be able to put the power down. You've got to be able to stay with the pace from the start. Good to see Sayed Carradine nicely tucked in here. Matt Hooker also doing the same. Sabata in as well. Vajassin just hiding out of the way, as is Von Haren tucked out in there. Pablo Popovic, well, we're no surprises to see him hiding out of the way.
Yeah, and Lionel Vajassin has had a really good month in August, should I say. You know, a rider really on form. He's had 1 3rd place and 2 4th places this month throughout the qualifiers. So I am expecting Lionel Vajassin to be there or thereabouts at the finish today.
So as these riders make their way through, currently 1.8 kilometers covered. Remember that we have 5 sprint segments, 2 official climbs that are timed climb segments as well. Each of the sprint segments are 300 meters long. The climb segments, well, the first climb is a Category 4 climb. That runs from 16.4k to 19.7k, so 3.3k long. And then the final climb with our summit finish up the Jebel Hafit, made famous during the UAE tour. Well, that is 34.5 to 44.5 for the climb segment, with the actual finish of the race at 45k, a further 500 meters down the road. But that doesn't tell the whole story. They are merely snapshots of the race on the way through. They give us that discrete window, that little snapshot of who's moving well during that particular moment. It's not about the first person through the segment, it's about the fastest person through there, so we can see who's pushing on, who's maybe taking it easier on that section, whether Group 1 is moving fast or Group 3 or Group 4. And it's not given, is it, Emma, that Group 1 will be the fastest?
Oh, absolutely not. And we do indeed regularly see that Group 1 isn't the fastest through those segments, because it very much depends on what the particular tactics are and how the race is unfolding in each of the 4 races on the screen. So Category 4 could be having an attack through the segment, and Category 4, because of that attack and the chase going on, they could set the fastest time through the segment if the other categories are taking a steady ride through it. So always really interesting, and often those segments give us a snapshot of what is happening in each of the 4 race fields.
So the sprint starts with the green banner with the UCI flag across the top there. This is the first of our timed segment, 300 meters. As you can see, nobody's sprinting for this because that would be burning energy that they would probably be saving for later. The only time you'll see that is either when it's part of the MyWhoosh Championships, where we saw the prizes, the sprint jerseys, the polka dot jerseys. So each of these segments being critical for prizes and positions, or where it is tactically advantageous to sprint through it because it will do damage. Now, out the other end, category 1 go. Let's have a look. It looks like they've pushed on through there because this group has strung out a little bit. Let's look at the times. And it's not just the time on here. Of course, we have the average watts per kilo, the heart rate, as well as the time and the gap. Pinot fast through there in that group, but only by 0.6 of a second. All yellow jerseys in the top 3. Then Simeon's in there from the Hitmen in the green in category 2. If we look further down that field, Emma, is that pretty reflective on the way through of the pace of all the riders?
Yeah, it is indeed. We're down to about 40th place, just 2 seconds separating first from 40th. So the category 1 and category 2 race fields going through at a pretty steady spate. And even Luke Allport, he's only 2.5 seconds back.
Well, the screens give us lots of data, don't they, about those riders and how hard they're working. One man who knows all about data, who is a complete data fiend, makes Emma look like she's like me, really, I guess. Not really, interested, but not as knowledgeable. It has to be said, is Kevin Poulton. Kevin is the UAE Team Emirates coach. He's also a man who knows a lot about MyWhoosh, oddly enough, and that's why we've got him in with us. Good to have you here, Kevin. Whereabouts in the world are you at the moment?
Well, yeah, it's nice to be here, so thanks for the introduction, and also I appreciate the conversion to Australian dollars. Makes me feel very much at home. I'm actually in Abu Dhabi at the moment, so even though I'm Australian, I travel the world quite a lot, and currently, in the region.
And you're a man who, for those people who don't know, you're a coach. That's your main background, and really overseen what is a revolution in coaching, because we taught famous things like the 2016 Paris-Roubaix win, something that you were heavily involved in.
Yeah, so I've been coaching for going on 25 years now, and as you mentioned with Paris-Roubaix, in the last 7 to 8 years, there's been a real shift in training methods, and the short story with Paris-Roubaix is that we were forced to train indoors. It was a new training method at the time, and I think for everyone involved in indoor cycling, that victory just gave credibility to indoor training across the board at all levels. So it certainly elevated the sport and the training methods. And since that Paris-Roubaix win, I've really been investigating the benefits of indoor training further, to the point that we now implement it in more racing during the year, in more training camps and so on. So it certainly is a legitimate training method now.
And you say the Paris-Roubaix was trained for indoor. I mean, this is a race which is subject to so many variables, with the cobbles, with the dust, with the weather, with the dynamics. That was something that was really revolutionary at the time, to train for something indoors.
Yeah, and what it shows is that indoor training complements your outdoor riding. So this phenomenon of indoor racing and training, it's not to be a breakaway sport on its own as such. It also complements your outdoor fitness as well. And to train indoors for Paris-Roubaix, as we did for 3 weeks, only training indoors, to then go and win the biggest and hardest one-day race in the world, it just justifies everything that we did. But what we did after that, I guess at the time we didn't really understand what the benefits were so much. But then after that Paris-Roubaix win, we looked at, okay, where were the gains made? What were they? And what we've come to now learn in more detail is that the biggest benefit is the increased core body temperature. So when you're training indoors and racing indoors, you naturally have that increase in core body temperature. And to a certain level, an increase is positive. And if you can spend a lot of time in that area, you get a huge boost in blood plasma, which gives you a big increase in VO2, aerobic efficiency, and that allows you to ride longer and harder.
And this is something that really has changed in the time, hasn't it, as we've come in and through now. When we talk about the change there and that benefit isn't just for the road. I mean, the Paris-Roubaix is a great example of something that is semi-off-road. Is the same true for mountain bike, for track, for triathlon, for all these different disciplines that come into the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, since Paris-Roubaix, I then put in place indoor blocks of training before big events, even Grand Tours. So I had riders doing 10-day blocks of indoor training that finished just 4 days out from a Grand Tour. And these guys were having their best performances in a Grand Tour. Triathletes, the same thing. So again, the real boost is that aerobic efficiency. And as you're going through your triathlon or your mountain bike race, you're preserving glycogen. When it comes to the back of the race, you've got all that glycogen stores preserved, and you can then really have a hard finale. So it certainly benefits all types of racing and training.
And in terms of being in the sport, we're here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. MyWhoosh is a platform that, you know, I've been lucky enough to put words to the action to for well in excess of a year, heading into towards the end of year 2 very shortly. And yet you've been here a lot longer, haven't you?
Yes, I've been with MyWhoosh for just on 4 years now, and my role at the moment is responsible for partnerships, but also the coaching and training content. So I'm very fortunate. What I've been able to do is put into place in MyWhoosh our own training methodology. We have our own test methods, we have our own training plans, we have a library of 700 workouts, and really what we have now is world tour coaching available to the masses. So it's a really significant platform.
So when we talk about those 700 training plans, I mean, we saw a competition recently on social media where MyWhoosh was supporting the riders and the teams, and there were training plans for each the women's and the men's Tour de France teams, and there was a climbing and a sprinting platform. Those are the same platforms. You're bringing what is being ridden by the UAE ADQ team and the UAE team Emirates team into and available for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, and of course it's all personalised to everybody's ability, but the same methods apply to elite athletes, to beginners, to amateurs, and hobby riders. So again, when I plan the content for a professional rider, that content, the same content goes into MyWhoosh as well. So we all benefit from, I guess, the 25 years of coaching and the understanding of indoor training and how it benefits us. And there's also, what we've learned too is that when we're training indoors, I talk about the heat, but there's also things like the pedal stroke indoors. So to begin with, there was a lot of misunderstanding about we're riding indoor trainers, the pedal stroke's different, is it good for us or is it bad for us? We now know that things like pedal stroke indoors, it's different, but that benefits us when we train outdoors. It makes our pedal stroke a lot smoother, it's more efficient, and to the point that when we train indoors, we very rarely freewheel. So we're constantly riding that steady state effort. Whereas if you're outdoors, you might freewheel for a few seconds and you come up to the traffic lights or a stop sign, and that quick relaxation really recovers the muscles quite a lot. When you train indoors for an hour, non-stop pedaling, that's another benefit as well. So there's just so many ways that you can improve your cycling by riding indoors.
Yeah. So what you're saying then is that there is a role for the trainer and for indoor training for everyone. I know I have riders I compete against who really dislike riding indoors, but there's a benefit for them even if it's not really their thing.
Absolutely. For anyone that I coach, or really for anybody, for me, the ideal week of training involves some indoor riding and outdoor riding as well. And as you were saying there about your friends that don't like training indoors, there's so many examples of athletes that have been forced to train indoors for a long period of time through injury or sickness, and they all come out and they say, I've got the form of my life. And COVID was the best example of that, where our professional riders were forced to train and race indoors, and they were all worried about their form when they got to race outdoors again. Everybody that raced indoors, they all came out and they won the races on the road straight away. So there's just absolute evidence that it works.
And that's true of irrespective of whether you're a cyclocross rider, a mountain bike rider, whether you are racing on the road or the track. I guess that targeted, that specificity, if there's such a word, which I think there is, that gives you that you can target exactly what you want to get out of there. In the women's race earlier on, we saw one rider who'd spent a long time addressing their weaknesses. So that old adage of you train your weaknesses and you race your strengths, it allows you to control those variables indoors, which you can't control outdoors, and maybe make the most being efficient with that training time, because not everybody is a pro.
Yeah, exactly. And specificity definitely is a word. But what indoor training also allows us to do is that we can now get very finite with our intervals. So we now know that short VO2 efforts are one of the most effective interval sessions to do. Now, to do 30 seconds on, 15 seconds off, do that for 12 minutes. To do that out on the road is quite dangerous. It's complicated. It's not possible. But that's the kind of training you can do indoors with real precision and get the maximum benefits from it.
And I guess that then translates into the racing now. We've seen the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's great action week on week. We see that time and time again. 3 qualifiers into the monthly final with that team dynamics. Last year, we saw that evolving into the early spring, where we had the MyWhoosh Championship, the $1 million prize fund. It was 7 stages over 8 days of great racing with King of the Mountains, Queen of the Mountains competitions and sprints. That evolution into that stage race really showed some new riders as well as existing riders who had different strengths, and you've got to be pleased with seeing that sort of progression onwards in terms of event on MyWhoosh.
Racing is now
So I think we just lost Kevin for a second. We're just going to do a quick catch up with the action. Emma, we've seen some real action in category 1. We'll just try and get Kevin back on the line. When it's back with us, we'll jump back into that conversation. So we've got Luke Allport on the attack here in category 4, haven't we?
So Allport went on the attack on category 4 on that first climb. McMurtry and Dadson are now with him. So 3 riders currently leading that category 4 race, and they are around 15 seconds clear of the chasing group. Neville Ross has gone pretty much at the same place Allport went. So Neville Ross learning from what happened in category 2, watching what's going on the screen, pushing on and putting attack now into the front of the category 3 race. In category 1, just to bring you up to date, it was Cutler who went off the front, Knudsen who chased him down, Kaminsky and Bjorklund covered the gap as well, but all 4 of those are now back in the field.
Thanks for that update, Emma. Now, Kevin, we just lost you. We just asked you the question about the championship. I'm hoping you're back online.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in a hotel, so obviously the Wi-Fi is not the best, so apologies for that. But with the championship, what that allows me to do as a coach is observe data, observe performance, and indoor racing is now a legitimate pathway to the top of the sport. You can go from training and racing in your garage, your home, straight to a World Tour contract. We can now do talent identification, and it's also a legitimate racing platform on its own. So we're now seeing professional esports races, and this is only going to get bigger. Now we have the UCI on board. We know that the IOC is also interested. So this is really an interesting and exciting time for esports.
And you mentioned there the UCI on board. We see the banners over the top. We've seen the launch of the Belgian World, joining Colombia, Australia, Arabia. this is a big development, really, isn't it, in terms of MyWhoosh and in terms of esports racing?
For sure. And look, first of all, I'm super proud to be involved with it. We know that esports racing is relatively new to the world. It's only 6-7 years old. It's developed quite a lot in the last few years. And now with MyWhoosh, we have the opportunity to take it to another level, to really make it entertainment and racing and make a show of it. That's what sport is. And we have some exciting plans to evolve that.
And we've seen riders who race, who do get signed up, as professionals, coming back and racing. People like Michael Vink comes back in and joins us on things like the Sunday Race Club. And we also see, a lot of the riders, as you said, using that. In terms of the UCI and the partnership, it does mean we've got a new rule set that's come out as well, that's also mixed in, and there's a lot of guidance for people online, and lots of communication backwards and forwards between the riders who are riding on the platform and the team at MyWhoosh. And I guess that communication is all part of that process that means we can keep driving the platform forward and keep driving towards that, the UCI and things like having world championships and so on.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I guess my message to the audience is we're new to the UCI level of racing. We're excited to have it for the next 3 years. We want racers to come and join us for that journey. Be part of our community. We're listening to you. We're developing different features, rule sets and so on. And we certainly want people to have a positive experience. But without a doubt, esports is going to be different to what you know it now. We have some amazing ideas and plans for the future. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We have the right team behind us, and it's just a matter of now getting into the hard yards.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's really interesting. I mean, you've been involved with MyWhoosh for 4 years. I guess for me, in 4 years' time, so if we include this year, I guess that's almost the end of 2026. Let's look, instead of looking back 4 years, look forward in 4 years. Your dream scenario. Let's not make promises but let's think dream scenario. If you could wave a magic wand and say the words abracadabra and it was all going to be done, where would you be in? Where'd you see MyWhoosh and racing and the esports platforms being in 4 years' time?
Okay, big question, that one. So in 4 years, MyWhoosh. Look, really, there's two aspects to it. It's a platform for the masses. It's a platform to improve your health and fitness, to build community. As we know with these global platforms, community is the heart of it. And the friendships you make, you can achieve your goals, your challenges with friends along the way. That's the beauty of it. And it's the kind of sport that does connect with beginners, armchair athletes, amateur athletes, through to elite racers. So for me, the main aspect is that everyone benefits from it. And to achieve that, we need to increase the accessibility to it, make it much easier. That's certainly in our pipeline as well. Then at the other end, now we know that esports, it's a legitimate sport on its own. It has credibility now. What I would like to see is that it stands on its own. We have professional teams, we have development teams. I imagine that we have our World Tour teams with a development road team and also an esports team as well. And it becomes a show like Formula One. We take it around the world, we get the best athletes. It becomes that old track style of racing. In the middle of the velodrome, you drink your beer, you eat your chips, and you watch the racing at the same time. And it's a show, but at the same time, the athletes are able to be professional in their sport.
Well, your timing is absolutely spot on, because Michael Vink, a rider who is a professional rider, is on the attack, on the move, going over the climb, leading the Category 1 bunch here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. A rider you know well, and again showing that riders can really mix it up, and maybe one of our potential riders who really does just focus on esports in the future. I'm sure he's got a long future ahead. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens and how much that vision that you gave us for the future and how fast we can get there. I mean, I know we've seen so much in there. If people want to get in touch with you, best place to do that, I guess, probably Instagram. They can see the Kevin Poulton on the screens at Kevin Poulton on there.
Yeah, certainly get in touch through Instagram, and I'm open to that. We want to connect with our followers. Any questions you have, any ideas you have, we really want to build our community. People like Michael Vink, he's the kind of person that's on the cusp of esports becoming a full-time profession and doing road racing as well. So I think he's going to be the first of many athletes in a similar vein to him.
Well, I'm sure there will be many more, and they'll all be benefiting from your input and from the training programs. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on there. And of course, no doubt catching up with yourself a little bit later on as time progresses as well. So, got to say a massive thank you to Kevin.
Yeah, indeed.
So great stuff, Kevin. We are going to have to head back to the racing because we are just about to hit the aquarium climb. In fact, our Category 1 riders are on, and Michael Vick is kicking down. So, Emma, I think we better dive back to you and bring us up to date with the action.
Well, we had indeed, and thank you ever so much, Kevin. It's been fantastic to listen to you today, and it's fantastic to get an insight into the future vision of MyWhoosh and esports racing. I, for one, am very excited about that, and I love watching the progression of our riders, and we see that week in, week out on the Sunday Race Club. We've seen Michael Vink continue to attack and continue to progress both on the road and returning to the Sunday Race Club. He's putting the attack in here and leading this Category 1 race field up our first categorized rise of the day.
So great to have Kevin with us. Kevin, enjoy the rest of the time out there. I know you're going to be working hard. Michael is on the attack, which you'll be pleased to know, and looks like the racing is, as usual, full on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. As I said, feel free to contact me on Instagram for any questions, coaching, training, suggestions, and so on. And looking forward to watching Michael Vink's performance here. He's one of our riders.
Yeah, well, the question is, will Vink be the victor at the top of the mountain? Will his teammate Knudsen come into play? Kevin, thank you very much indeed.
So here we are, Michael Vink on the attack, Category 1. It's been all action across the categories whilst I had the pleasure of chatting with Kevin and was listening in. She was also multitasking and keeping an eye on the categories. So Category 1, first of all, on the aquarium climb, about halfway up, just levelling out a little bit at the moment. It's going to kick again. This is your leading group. This is the riders that are left in contention on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club August finals. Category 2 are just going over the top of the climb. They're on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the leading group in Category 2, and they're now making the way down onto the descent from that Category 4 ascent. We've got Category 3 and 4 further down the road still. Emma, any headline news from out on the course whilst we've been away?
Well, we have 18 riders in the leading group in Category 2, up and over the top of the climb. They are now in the descent and dropping down at the moment. You can see them on the top right-hand corner of your screen. In Category 3, Neville Ross put an attack in on that aquarium climb and has been rewarded by riding away from the pack. So Neville Ross absolutely pushing on there. Individual rider, not in a team today.
That's not going to last long.
Well, really interesting. Or their riders, the teams may well just let him go.
Ooh.
And in Category 4, it was Allport who put the push in. Allport pushed on and went clear on that climb. But Dadson and McMurtry are the two riders who have now joined him. Dadson, part of the Red Arrows squad, but McMurtry, well, he is Allport's teammate.
So two teammates together, one interloper in Category 4 on the right of your screen. Andrew Neville Ross, the rider on the left-hand side of your screen there. Meanwhile, Category Category 1 are on to the climb here, and they are well up this climb. It's not going to be long before they get to the summit and they start diving back down again, and the pressure is well and truly on. Now, this was instigated initially by Ving, but look behind the group. We are seeing riders being dispatched off the back, having to work hard to stay in with this group, and you can just see they're about to make contact at the back here. Big push by Sabata here, by Nair and Zanaska. You cannot afford to go too close to the back of this group because you risk being drifted off the back by another rider. So somebody loses the wheel in front of you, you've got to do the work to get not just around that rider, but to make the junction back again.
Yeah, and this is one of the challenges of this large group at the moment, because you can't see all of the riders' data and information on your screen. You've really got to keep your wits about you, because where you are in the pack will determine what you can see. So particularly if you have a forward view on. So if you are Phil Graves, you are towards the front of the group. If you are towards the back of the group, your view is different, and you cannot see all of those riders on that screen in front of you to see what is going on. You've got around 7 riders' data on that screen only. So that pack, that is a lot more than 7 riders, and that information is missing from your screen. So really needing to keep mentally alert to ensure that you stay with the group.
So staying alert, staying on the power, all whilst breathing in and taking in as much oxygen. This is where all that training really can pay off. Now look at the screens. They are in red, they're in yellow on the right-hand side, indicating how deep these riders are kicking. They know that if they can push over the top of the climb and distance people going over the top, the gap will increase. So dynamics, just like you'd find riding outdoors. If you push over the top of the climb, you're picking up speed on the descent. The distance between you and the rest of the riders behind you will open it up. That makes it incredibly hard to get back on. So if you're going to kick in one place and one place only, it's over the top of the climb. Everybody's scrambling for the wheels. They all know they've got to respond now or they are in trouble. And it looks like the back of that pack are coming together. Let's have a look at the times up there. No surprise to see Category 1 leading the way up the Aquarium climb. It's a sea of yellow, but leading them through at the command of that yellow submarine of riders, it is Phil Graves leading it out, 163 his heart rate. Interestingly, not the highest watts per kilo over there, but the fastest time.
Well, absolutely. 23 riders in that leading group in Category 1 going up and over the top of the Aquarium climb. The rest of the race filled. Well, do you know what? Category 2 are not far behind. Category 3 and Category 4 a little further back, around 1 minute 40.
So 1 minute 40 covering the fastest Category 1 time to the Category 4 leaders time. Am I correct?
You are about, yes.
Yeah, cool. Makes a nice change. So me and numbers don't always get on, but there you go. That is that gives you an indication of how fast they're moving. And I would almost have expected a bigger time difference between all those categories up there. But
Allport attacked on this climb and went clear.
So that is why he's so close. That explains, and that's why we love the snapshots that are our sprint segments, that are our climb segments on there. Remember, 5 sprint segments, 2 climb segments here today. And that is why they give us such a really good indicator, a real window in. But you've got to put that in context. And with that attack of Allport, who's joined by Dadson and McMurtry on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see why that time gap was down. This is a decisive move by them. They are over a 1 minute clear, aren't they?
They are
hovering
indeed
around about the 1 minute mark at this minimum up to about 1:15, dependent on the pace. McMurtry, Allport, and Dadson have that gap. Now, they are currently at 30k, so they are over 2/3 race distance. They've got a gap of over a minute. They now need to take that into that final climb, where that is going to help, but it's not decisive, is it?
Well, it's not decisive because we have seen people lose 2 or even 3 minutes on a climb of this length. And I'm going to say, historically, Mark Dadson has not been one of the strongest climbers in Category 4. I say that, however, he finished 3rd last week. He had a 3rd last week. He had a 4th the week before. He has been coming through to form. So I may well be proved wrong, but I would say Allport and McMurtry are the 2 stronger riders from this leading group, given the climb ahead. Mark Dadson, please prove me wrong.
We will see if it does and can do that. Meanwhile, back to the masses, quite literally back to the masses. So let's have a big check. It's a big check because it's a big number of riders. There's plenty of riders in here. Anybody in particular that you think is not doing too much work on the front, Emma?
Well, you know, I think we've not seen. I mean, Knudsen chased down Cutler when Cutler went off the front. So Cutler was the first rider to attack. We're now seeing an attack from Betty in Category 2. But in Category 1, Cutler has been the only rider to attack so far. Knudsen chased down, Kaminsky and Bjorklund followed, but they soon all came back to the group. So, you know, we haven't seen Phil Graves go attack, attack, attack. We normally would. We haven't seen anybody try and ride away. Vink stretched his legs over that first climb, but everybody went with him. So currently, I would say this is pretty steady from this group. And those big players, I mean, Popovic, we've not really seen. Knudsen has poked his front wheel out slightly. Mr. X100, not seen him either. Nair, Zanaska, Vujasin, Van Elst, all these riders who have been really, really strong all month. Well, no one's really laying it down in Category 1
They're using their head.
They are.
Rather than using their legs at the moment, it would be my
exactly.
my take home from there. So the Category 1 riders come up to their next sprint. This is the Liwa Desert Sprint. And they're making their way in and through 23.4k. Now the riders on the way in there and looking good at the moment.
You see, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm starting to wonder whether the strategy here is about if you can get all the teammates to the bottom of that climb at 34.5 kilometres. So if you can get 3 or 4 of your team to the bottom of the climb in this leading group, then really the team competition is anybody's. You know, there's no big gap. There's nobody like we see in Category 3 who's ridden off the front. And now, interestingly, we are indeed at the Liwa Desert Sprint, and it is a real mix at this point in the race. Pretty much that tells me all three race categories we can see on the screen, Category 2, Category 3 and Category 1, all moving through that segment at pretty much the same time. 27 seconds being set from Olivia Simeons from Category 2, but SS from Category 1, Eduardo Parisi Category 2, Andrew Neville Ross, who's the rider off the front of the Category 3 race there as well, Juan Hoyos there too. So much of a muchness going on there. A little bit further back down there, you know, I'm trying to scroll down and see how many riders we've got within 2 seconds coming through there. 50 riders going through that segment within 2 seconds.
Wow, that is
Category
some
1,
isn't it?
Category 2 and Category 3.
That is a big group. That's a big number going in and through. Now, you can just see Category 1 on the climb. This is where we've been seeing those moves. This is on the ascent out. So we went up the Aquarian climb. That started at 16.4k, topped out at 19.7k. Dropped down the other side. We've made our descent, and we are now on the climb back out from the depression. This is where this leading group are able to distance riders if they use it to their advantage, and this is going to be really interesting to see. This is a small group though now. It might not be 4 or 5, but relatively, given the size of the race field, you've probably only got, what, quarter, third of the race field still left in contention here, Emma?
Well, I would say closer to half, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of riders. So 47 riders took to the start sheets in Category 1 today. We've just seen one rider get distance. He's having to push to close that back down, but we are still over 20 riders in this leading group. Now, what is really interesting, if you take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can see that the Category 1 race is now progressing through the Category 3 and Category 2 race fields. Now, they started before. So, Category 1 started, they were the final start in our 4 starts today. Category 2 started 5 minutes ahead of them. Category 3, 15 minutes ahead of them. Category 4, 20 minutes ahead of them. So working their way through the back of Category 2 and Category 3 race fields.
And at the moment, we've got about 2.5 kilometres separating the leaders in Category 1 and the leaders of Category 2. Now, as they come through a little bit further down the road, it's 4 kilometres almost, sorry, 3.5 kilometres separating Category 2 to Category 3, and then from Category 3 to Category 4, well, we've got about another 2.5 K.
Yeah.
So there's still some decent separation between the leaders in each of these groups.
Well, 8.6 K on my count there between the leaders in Category 1 that we're watching at the moment and the leader on the road at the moment.
And that says a lot about the racing, because it is a final, because this is Sunday Race Club, because we have that prize money available across all 4 categories, and there's the team prizes in there as well, which obviously introduces that different dynamic. One which is where everybody wants to ride for the team, and in this group, Emma, you said we've got 2 riders from the same team. We've got 1 different rider in there in terms of the team mix in Category 4 up here. The group behind is a big group, so teammates of basically the riders in the front sat behind. Now, you're a teammate behind. What do you do? Because you can't chase, I guess.
No, I'd be sitting and ensuring the group isn't chasing, because the time gap these riders are putting in at the front here, currently 1 minute 30. Well, if 2 of my riders are up here at 1 minute 30, that's a 3-minute gap in the team competition, and I've just got to finish in the pack. So I would be ensuring that that pack does not push on and is as slow as possible, to be honest.
And how would you do that?
Well, I would be ensuring that I covered any break, but also that when I did get on the front, I took the pace off.
So you go on the front and then you ease back off again?
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here from her. That would be her tactics. Well, let's see if that is employed. Now,
well,
Category 4 onto the climb. They've hit the final climb. I think time to take a little refresher of the climb. Run us through this final climb. Give us the numbers first of all, Emma, for the climb, and then a feel for it.
Yeah, so the climb in front of our riders at the end here, the Jebel Hafit, it is part and parcel of this race profile, and it is that very large red section on the right hand side with the checkered flag at the top. So 10 kilometers of climbing with a 7% average gradient. So the riders are going to climb 690 meters from the start of the climb to the top. There's 500 meters to go when they get to the polka dot banner indicating the end of the climbing segment. But take a look at that profile. It is not a steady state 7% climb the whole way. It is stepped. So we will see steeper sections under the wheels up to around 13%, and we will even see small descents and flat sections on their way up this mountain.
So as the riders go up, this is not going to necessarily suit somebody who can set a steady pace. So somebody like Mistakes 100, who we know can set a very strong pace, but doesn't necessarily respond as well to kicks. Maybe his teammate like Pablo Popovic or similar, who's better at a kick and a stop. The UAE planting with both types of riders in their mix.
Well, yes, I agree. However, I'm going to caveat that by saying it's the type of climb where you will see riders watching each other. They will be looking at each other to see how they're going to ride and where they're going to put the kick in, and whether a rider is going to be brave and attack or whether a rider is going to follow. And that will give a very different dynamic to this race, particularly if a breakaway goes, because, and no spoilers, please watch the women's race, because different tactics can work depending upon what racecraft is happening elsewhere. So as we watch on the right hand side of your screen, we've got the Category 2 race field. On the left hand side of your screen, we've got the Category 1 race field. Neither of these race fields are at the final mountain yet. They're still on the flatlands and the rolling sections beforehand. Category 1 just coming in and through. They are now at this final segment. It's the final 300-meter sprint segment, the Silent Dunes, that we will shortly be seeing the results for. That is the last sprint segment on the course today. And this is the last group of riders through.
So let's have a look at the numbers being led through by Phil Graves in terms of a pace, 0.874. clear of SS once again. The rider who is going through in second place, Kotler, Popovic, Naska, Van der Eyck out, along with Walter and Nair up in the top 8, but a real big pack. And I think the pace really starting to wind up there in Category 1 as they go through. This is the leading group, and this is a slight dip and rise that the riders are on at the moment at 28.8. A reminder, 34.5k before we go on to the final climb. Meanwhile, it is the Category 3 leader, Andrew Neville Ross. So Neville Ross on his way through to the start of the climb here. He's going to go underneath that polka dot banner and on to the climb proper. You can see it just behind that MyWhoosh sign over the road here. So here he comes. He's going to go underneath the archway as he goes underneath the clock, starting for him up on to the climb. Andrew Neville Ross, the rider leading out Category 3.
Yeah, well, let's not forget Neville Ross is an individual rider. He's not part and parcel of the team or of a team, hence part and parcel of that team competition in Category 3. So I think the rest of that race field have let him go, and they are happy for Neville Ross to potentially take the win whilst they fight out the team competition behind.
And that's given away, though,
it is
substantial amount of money.
Absolutely it is. But the effort it would take to chase him down and bring him in, I think they're weighing it up.
You think it would compromise their
I
team?
think it would compromise
their ability
the team
to
competition.
race the team competition with putting that energy into chasing. Well,
I think so.
Time to make hay while sun shines. There you go. We've got, like we always manage to try and get some kind of ancient English phrase somewhere into the English commentary here.
If you know an
MyWhoosh.
obscure English phrase, please let us know and we'll try and weave it in one day.
Yeah,
only relevant, though.
Yes, we haven't talked about whittling for a long time. You'll have to watch back the footage on the Twitch TV live. Don't forget, it's MyWhoosh live on Twitch TV, and you can see the Category 3 coming underneath the archway in full glorious technical with no compression. This is the pack who are going through underneath the archway, chasing Neville Ross, who is the leader on the road. At the moment, the distance between them, it's about 700 meters, I think. Let's double check. No, it's about 400 meters. It's coming down pretty quickly, actually, on this climb. It may well be that Neville Ross is going to be swept up. They're in front of this group of leaders in Category 2, and this is a sizable bunch. There's going to be some confident legs going into the big climb.
Well, you know, we said Category 2, the Hitmen as part and parcel of Category 2 were going to be dominant, but take a look at that. That is a massive group of riders, and the Hitmen are indeed in there, but so is the Moretta's bike team with Betty, Kirchner, Kranich, Panolotti, Quadrelli, Parisi, Roncalli, Caligula. You know, all of these are strong riders. Cafe de Colombia, Moreno, Giuliano, Oviedo. You know, I could keep going on. KN, Cadiz, Smythe, Bogran. We've seen all of these riders at some point racing really strongly, and I think they are all going to end up fighting it out on the Hebel Hafit.
I don't think you're wrong there. They currently have 2 kilometers almost exactly between Category 1 leaders and Category 2 leaders. But once we get onto the climb, the better power to weight ratio, the better climbing abilities and power deployment for the Category 1 should ensure that they're going to overtake Category 2. Should, but not guaranteed, because we have seen all of our categories at one point or another taking away the win at the end of the racing. Currently 53 minutes on the clock for Category 2, 48 for Category 1. They're on the top of your screen. At the bottom of your screen, you can see that Category 3 at 1 hour and 3 minutes, and the riders just set off 5 minutes in front. And that is 1:08 on the clock. And Mark Dadson at the moment trying to prove Emma wrong, leading out ahead of Luke Allport and Brett McMurtry, but not at the moment by anything that is too substantial, but he could yet make this count. I think just opening a gap back to McMurtry. So Category 1, the group on the left of your screen, then it's Category 2 in the green, Then Category 3 leader Neville Ross, the solo leader, working his way through the Category 4 field, and a solo leader, but only just for Mark Daston. As you can see, Category 4 Chase is on his heels on the right-hand side of your screen.
Come on, Dadson!
Well, look at this. McMurtry's 2 seconds down. That's nothing. But you look at the effort going in from Luke Allport there to go and chase him down. What's really interesting to me is what is the cadence going to be as they go up here. McMurtry now squeezes onto the wheel of Dadson and Allport. Dadson wanting to set the pace. 71 revs per minute, so he's right on the limit. Generally, most people are comfortable out of the saddle below 70 revs per minute. Not many people will dance out of the saddle and dance away up the climb Pantani-esque up to the finish, but we will see if it's going to be the case today that Dadson can prove Emma Rowing in that race. Meanwhile, back across with Category 1, our cream of the crop, the riders who should set the fastest race time. 50 minutes of racing underneath their wheels, 32.2k. They're just coming in and going to take the right-hand turn just in front of the gardens and in front of the water just in front here. Take the right-hand turn. It's going to be a shot right-hander. Round they go. Just get a good look at how strung out this is or isn't, and it's definitely a case of isn't. No breaks, no gaps in this
still
group.
23 riders in this group, Matt. Counted through the last sprint segment. 50 minutes of racing. 23 Category 1 riders. When was the last time we saw that?
You're asking me? You're the stats person.
I was going to say, my memory tells me we haven't seen it for a very, very long time.
I have to agree. You know, flippancy aside, I think it's a long time. I think it's very telling, but we do see it. We do see big groups coming into the final.
Well, and here's another big
Category
group.
1 and Category 2 as well, because the riders. I'm a great believer that the further up the categories you get, the more cynical stroke tactical riders will race, and also they tend to have less, I'm going to use a French phrase, seeing now we're in the Full Speed Events French studio, less joie de vivre. They're more calculating. There's less joy of life.
Well, I don't know about joy of life, but joy of climbing is what these riders need at the moment.
Whoa. Joy of climbing. That's
some people like climbing. You might not, but some people do. Making me laugh. It's not good. I was about to say, Oviedo is here, but it's Simeon's now coming to the fore in this Category 2 race. Jose Oviedo, wheel 2. Biarhead moving up wheel 3. The climbers are coming to the fore. Spratt is there as well with Kirchner. These riders now realising the game is on. And look at it. It's already starting to spread down the mountain.
It is, and you've got this. You've got a single leader. You've got 3 or 4 riders who are able to match that, who are coming up very quickly onto the wheel of Oviedo here. So Kirchner, Simeon Spratt, Betty, Parisi, Biarhead are all in the mix. Behind 1 or 2 riders being distanced out. As you look up the road on that satellite view on the left-hand side of your screen, there is a long train of riders in a red Category 4 riders in front. But Oviedo really pushing on hard here. He's going at 5 watts per kilo plus. The chasers behind don't want to hit 5 watts per kilo. And as he goes over here, he's going to get a little bit of assistance because he's slightly downhill, but it kicks again very quickly. And we're already into that gradient change. We are now at 3% and climbing, and this is going to kick very steeply. So the first step really breaks the groups apart. Oviedo in 1, Simeon's in 2, Spratt in 3, Biarhead in 4. But that is changing very quickly behind our leader. In Category 1, you can see that Knudsen tucked in here on to the last few meters here. We are at 34.1. They know exactly where this climb starts. If they didn't know, that UCI banner is going to be right in front of them. The polka dot red dots on the white archway, making its way towards it is the lead of Category 1.
Can I just say how ready Knudsen is for this climb? I'm looking at his heart rate, 140. He is well within his range. We've seen Knudsen hit 2:01 at the top of the finish line. He has got range to go. He's very comfortable at the start. I think we're going to see that go skywards.
I would hope so. It means he's not trying. If it doesn't go skywards, it's going to go skywards. I think it will equal the climb. It might even equal the profile. Maybe put the two, his heart rate versus
via the elevation.
The elevation against each other. And they're going to be very, very similar, I'm sure. But we're going to see some steps, some kicks now. One of the things you can do is take a little bit of a run off the back of the group to run through it. But it is risky on the climb. Ospina, the rider, the nearest rider behind this group, 4 minutes down. So this group are well and truly clear of all of the competition. The winner will come out of this group. Who will it be? We've got a big group of riders who are on their way up. Let's see who's going to kick. Who will be the first to blink? Who will put the power down first here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Finals for August? Category 1. Onto the yellow feet, onto the final climb.
So as they head up the final climb, they've still got 10 kilometers of racing to go, and it is going to be a fast and furious 10-kilometer climb. On the right hand side of your screen, however, is the leaders on the road at the moment, Dadson and Allport. They have broken Brett McMurtry from that group of 3. It is now a group of 2, and Dadson is continuing to lead Allport up the climb. So Mark Dadson continuing to work strongly at the front of the race. Here at the front of the Category 1 race field, we're seeing a push come on the front, and it is SS from the UAE clan team who has gone down the road. So SS and Zanaska are the 2 riders gone down the road. So just stretching their legs on the early part of this climb and testing it, and SS is doing the marking here. So SS in the blue hat, blue shoes, chasing down Luca Zanaska, because Zanaska is the one who's pushed early on this climb.
I'll tell you something, if SS ever changes his blue hats, blue shoes,
we'll get very confused.
I'm going to get very confused, because as long as I can remember, so I think pretty much for 2 years now, that's been his standard wear. It makes our life slightly easier. It makes it easy when you're riding with him as well. Actually, I've had the pleasure of riding with SS and Mistakes 100 on a ride out on the MyWhoosh, and I'll tell you something, they can't off-ride, and you can see
they can.
now. Look at the gap they've opened here. Now, SS hasn't done as much work as he normally has, unless we missed it off on our screens. The chase work that normally is done by SS, he's a real lion in there of the pack that is the UAE clan. He really, really does a lot of work on the way through. He is sat on a second wheel here, holding on to the wheels here of Zanaska. Really interesting to see.
Yeah, it is interesting to see, because Vujasin is the rider coming to the fore with Knudsen, Van Elst, Kaminsky, Vink and Popovic. But that is the chasing group. And in fact, take a look at that. Knudsen now kicking at 9.5 watts per kilo because he wants a bit of the action. It's coming across to SS and Zanaska. Vujasin responding, 9.9 watts per kilo coming from Vujasin. Vujasin wants to go to Noren and Popovic. Well, still 2 seconds back, but now the move is on.
And the gaps are opening. This is critical. You've got to be in it to win it. You've got to be on the heels here. You've got to be close. Cannot afford that gap to go. They saw the danger. They're responding to this. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed as they make the way up this climb, because we are seeing responses. We're seeing moves. Who's got the pace? Who's got the power? Who's going to be in touch? This I am absolutely loving. Look at this. The action is unfolding in front of our eyes here, and it's doing damage at the back. There are riders being shed off the back of the group, and this is phenomenal. The pace, the power, as these riders follow the trail of riders in front. We have Category 4 in blue. We have Category 4 in red, Category 3 in blue, Category 2 in green. In front, there's a trail, a breadcrumb trail up here. Can they grab hold of them before they disappear? Can they get hold of those riders past them on the way up. The pace is absolutely phenomenal. 6%, nearly 7% climbing. We're still over 20 kilometers an hour at that point. That is some speed as they go up here.
I'll tell you something, we've started the climb and we had 24 riders go in to the bottom of the climb in this category 1 pack. We are now down to 14.
Oh, 14 riders, 24 to 14. We've lost 10 already, and this is just going to continue to the top. But remember, there are 5 prizes at stake in the individual competition, but there are going to be 15 counting riders in the team competition. 5 prizes, 3 riders in each team to count, and that is why it's critical. And of course, that's why all these teams know that wherever they are on the mountain, they have got to work. Johan Noren, a man who has been getting better and better on the platform, and improving all the time.
Yeah, he had a 3rd this month in the qualifiers. So Noren riding really strongly. That was back in qualifier number 1. We were on the Jebel Yace that time. Noren can climb.
He can climb, and he can climb really, really well. Will he be able to take a podium spot? Will he take a prize? Will he take away the win? I wouldn't discount anybody on here. Get your form right, get the training right, get it at the right time. It's going to be really critical. Now, just riding in with Michael Nussen on the left of your screen at the moment. That heart rate has gone up. It's now at 178, but that still leaves plenty of capacity. Meanwhile, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, very similar heart rate here for Geraldo, who is in the category 2 leading group. He's currently sitting with Betty and Simeon's Sprat also in the mix with Ice. So category 1 and 2 leaders continue up this climb, and at the moment currently separated by not very much at all.
Well, no, there was 18 riders in the leading group of category 2 when they went into the climb, and you saw there on that bottom left-hand shot, decimated the group this mountain has, pretty much like the category 1 race field. I am going to eat my hat, Mark Dadson. Absolutely phenomenal. Congratulations, because you've got a 16-second gap back to Luke Allport. And, well, it's humble pie for me. It's phenomenal motivation for Mark Dadson, because he is continuing to climb this mountain and climb this mountain well.
It ain't over till you cross that line, though. So you never know. You might not be eating your hat. So if you
I like all my hats.
You do indeed. You might have to create one just so that you can eat it. So if you want to see Emma eating her hat on social media, do give her a follow at Biking Emma. If she loses this bet, I will guarantee you that we will see a picture of her eating a hat on social media. I defy you to make a chocolate hat. Right, who's going to melt in the sun? Who's going to melt in the heat like a cheap chocolate hat? Who is going to show us that they have the fine chocolate, a dark, rich, strong vein of form as they make their way up this climb? Who is going to be at the top and going to be up there resting on their laurels, cooling off whilst the rest of the climbers swelter? Really interesting to see here that we have Kalangad here and Kochetkov really working hard. They're battling, but the gap between Kalangad and Kochetkov,
my question
43 seconds.
Where is Neville Ross?
Really working well here. Neville Ross, I don't think is on this group. I think he's been caught, swallowed, and dispatched. We're just scrolling down through here. I didn't see Neville Ross on there, so I suspect that push into the climb was to give him some sliding room on the climb. A Matt tactic that every time. Go hard on the way in to give yourself some chance. Just rolling through here. No sign of Ross. May well be. He went hard, doing a Graves, going hard early on, and then sliding back on the hill.
Absolutely. We have seen that before. So it is indeed Kochetkov who is now pushing on in this category 3 race, working his way up through the category 4 race field, leading this category 3 race at the moment, because this mountain has done damage to all of the race fields coming in.
It has Kochikov up to 10th place in the race overall. Remember, the prizes are only individually per category and in the teams per category, not in the overall competition. So this is why it is important for the riders to focus on their race. In the way of them doing so, there is all the distraction of going past other riders, and of course there is draft to be had from the other categories of riders. So the category 1 riders can pick up the draft, as can the category 2, 3 and 4. Can KN just jump it in with that group as they came in through? You could see him trying to respond, but it's also a chance to maybe put the cat in amongst the pigeons and really break the group up. We are seeing that happening at the moment. SS very quickly onto the wheels of Lucas Naska, Michael Vink up here, Bart van den Eekhout. We've got Zach Nair up here and Michael Kaminski, but this is an elite group. They are the best of the best. This is all that are left in here. Now, Zach Nair and Michael Kaminski, I think, are about 10 seconds down on this group at the moment. So just taking a look, up they are. So we can see at the moment this group is pushing on at the front. It's Michael Vink who has got his foot on the throttle. He's currently starting to open up a gap, but it is in the middle of the pack that gap opened. They've quickly jumped onto his heels here. They know just how dangerous he is. SS goes on to the race lead now. He's out of the saddle in that blue cap. Up on to his shoulder goes Stefan van Elster, as well as Michael Vink. They are all wanting to take away top spot here. They all want to be in the process. They all want to take away the team money, but that push up here, it went from 24 to 14. That's not 14 riders now.
No, it isn't 14 riders now. I'm looking at that and counting 9.
So we've lost another 5 riders. We've got the grouping taken down. It's 2/3 of the size it was going on to the climb at the base of the Jebel Hafid, making our way in through Al Ain and on to the climb. And at the moment, he's strung out, and it is one long line
of multicoloured rainbow line on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, as all 4 of our race fields are now coming together on the Jebel Hafid. We are seeing this race unfold towards the top of the mountain. Category 1, well, they've got 5.7 kilometres to go. So Vink and Zanaska, Hoyas, SS and Van Elst, all towards the front of this Category 1 race field. They are catching Bjarhead. They are catching Kirchner. The riders ahead of them in the Category 2 race. So 4 Category 2 riders. They are about to see this leading pack in the Category 1 race come up and past them. The Category 1 race are then going to continue to progress around the bend. They're going to see more Category 4, 3 and 2 riders all the way up this mountain.
So as they make the way up here, just picking up Kirchner there, Giuliano on the way through. They are just making their way up as a group of riders in yellow through the green dots of Category 2 riders. They've also got Category 4 riders sliding down through this group. David Milano just being passed by this lead group of Category 1, and at the moment Henrik Oya is the rider who is sat at the back of this group trying to get a lift up here. Now, can he get a push through? We'll see if Oya is able to do that. At the moment, though, this is going to be very interesting as we come into the final slopes. Remember, Oya, a rider who races for the Scott in Category 2 for the Moretus bike team. However, at the very front, it's the man from the UAE clan team. SS is on the move. Now, we don't see SS taking the win all that often. All the time we see him time and time again sacrificing himself for the team. Well, maybe today he's going to be let off the leash like that classic. You let loose the riders. It reminds me of the professional peloton. You know, you've got to remember, a professional peloton rider might never take a win in their professional career. They might take 1 or 2, and yeah, They are the best riders in the world out there, but they are forever doing their job. They're looking after the team. They're sacrificing themselves to get team victory. But when they are let off the leash, somebody like Stephen Cummings absolutely nails it and takes a famous win. This is very much in the same mold. SS now breaking clear. 10 seconds is the gap behind SS at the moment to Noren, to Hoyos, and it's opening out here. Now SS has to get his head down here. He's got less than 5 kilometers to go, but he has to really push now. He's shown his cards. He's pushed on. He's got the gap here. Can he make this count? Are we going to see a response behind, and who's going to chase? Pablo Popovic is a teammate, so is Michael Knudsen, so is Michael Vink. They are not, I think, going to close him down. Hoyos being left to make the running here. Noren is doing the same. They're being marked out, though, by Popovic and Knudsen, who are not going to give them any ground at all. And if they do chase down SS, I think the riders will know that they've helped tow up SS's teammates. What a great ride, a great race unfolding in front of our eyes. Remember, we are now into the final 5 kilometers of 45 kilometers of racing here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. The riders on your screens currently approaching the 785 meter mark of the 1,041 meters in category 1. Dasson is the leader on the road. He's covered 41.7k. He's 1.2k further up the road. He's got 860 meters underneath his wheels. So his elevation is slightly higher because he's further up the road. But I tell you something, he's going to have to watch out because the SS Express train is heading in his direction. This is really interesting to see. Vink really squeezing on the pedals now, looking to do damage to the riders behind to bridge up to SS. Great move this. So they've let SS have some room. Now Vink is going.
Well, SS was 5th in qualifier race number 1 in July. He was 4th in qualifier 2 in June. He can indeed show his strength when he wants to or when he's allowed to. He is off up the mountain, but it's his teammate now pushing on. Michael Vink from the UAE Clan team pushing on. In fact, all 4 riders from the UAE Clan team are up towards the front of this race as it's now starting to fracture.
But the danger is he'll pull somebody across here, and that danger is coming from Zanaska and Hoyos here. So Zanaska very quickly responding to the move by Michael Vink. He's the nearest rider to Vink, and this is in danger of pulling all the riders back up to SS. How long does Vink continue to proceed with this? Well, I think it's not going to be long before it'll shut the throttles off if he realizes he's bringing the rest of the group. They're onto his heels. They're literally zero time behind. 1 second. It's nothing at the moment. Dangerous move by Vink. Can he break it? Can he break them? He's still got a little bit of a gap, you know. It's not necessarily impossible, but look at this. SS at the moment is working hard to go across gaps as well. You can just see Olivier Simmons and Josel Betty. They are the 2 leaders of category 2. They are about to get caught by the category 1 leader, but I'll tell you something, that category 1 group is coming back together, and that's going to be back together as one big group very shortly.
Well, it's a who's who of esports racing. It's a who's who of the Sunday Race Club stars. It's a who's who today for who is going to take the win in category 1 at the top of this mountain. But Betty is now using the opportunity to attack Simmons in the category 2 race. So as SS comes up, it is Betty and Simmons who now can attack each other. Who can stay with SS is what's on their minds, because if I can hold SS's wheel, I can ride away from you.
Well, they're so evenly matched, Betty and Simmons here. This is going to be a real fight between them. Betty responding to Simmons on to the wheel at the moment. Josel Betty for the Morettas and mountain bike team against Olivier Simmons from the Hitmen, but they're both seeing SS ride off into the distance. One man who is closing the gap down is Michael Vink, but he has got the rest of the team's attached like limpets to his back wheel at the moment. And at the moment, although he might have damaged some off the back, this could mean that the leader in the UAE clan team on the road, and that is SS, is not getting the time advantage that he might possibly have got had he been left alone and had Vink left it to the rest of the riders. Really interesting to see what's going to happen now. Now, do they know something about SS? We don't. Did SS go on a suicide break up the road where he was putting the pressure on to try and provoke a response from the riders in the hope they would go, or was he going with an aim of staying clear? Sometimes riders go down the road not expecting to make it to the finish, not putting in a sustainable effort, but to encourage a chase and then be down the road in case people come. But we know SS is a talented, strong rider who can push his way right to the front of the race. He could be in contention for the win. He's not giving it up though, and look at this, 7 watts per kilo from SS. He knows this climb well. He's ridden up here so many times. The graphics might have changed. We might have seen this constant evolution of the MyWhoosh platform, but fantastic to see SS making the most of that. He's going to be on the heels here of the riders, and I'll tell you something, there's only going to be Dadson in front of him very shortly. There'll be one man left. It's Mark Dadson who's left up front. He's a minute 16 down the road. It's going to yo-yo up and down, but it was best part certainly a minute at the last count as go through. Now let's see what happens as SS goes through. Can anybody respond and stay on his wheel? I don't think they can.
Well, SS is now leading the Category 1 race. He's second rider on the road. On the left, on the right-hand side of your screen is Mark Dadson. He's currently leading the Category 4 race. He's the current leader on the road at the moment. He's been racing for 1 hour 35 minutes, and he is coming up for 2K to go.
Well, 2,000 meters are going to separate Mark Dadson from the finishing line. His gap is substantial back to SS. SS is pushing, though, at a higher power, higher watts per kilo, and is closing in. Has Dadson got enough gap? Well, we are not going to have long to find out. The distance between the riders is still about 300 meters or so on the Jebel Hafid, this iconic climb in the UAE, in the Emirates, that has played host to finishes not just on the Sunday Race Club, but also on the road outdoors in both the men's and women's tours. The men's Sunday Race Club climbing it here on the August finals. We've got one man clear, SS 16 seconds up the road. And I think Vink has realised he was not making ground. He was just dragging riders. He's now got to rethink that policy and go again. Very interesting to see. Now, what are they going to do here? The rest of the teams seem to have a bit more of a handle on the UAE clan team at the moment.
Yeah, they do indeed. And Dadson, I'm just going to mention, you know, I think this is well, I know I can see a massive recovery week in his training, and he has timed this to perfection for the Sunday Race Club. SS is pushing on as well, but that gap now 6 seconds, and it's Michael Vink, his teammate, doing the chasing, towing Noren van Elst, Knudsen, Hoyas and Zanaska up. So this is going to be a phenomenal final 1.5 kilometers in this men's race, because this is a seriously class field.
And we've got the terrain to match as well coming up on the Jebel Hafid. On to the climb in to the finish here, because we know it's going to change a gradient very quickly indeed. At the moment, it's 2.5%. That's up on the top right-hand side of your screen, but you can see that this will change very, very quickly indeed. And being able to respond is key. Now, SS is leading from the UAE clan team behind. Michael Knudsen is just holding the tempo below that of SS, and as a result you are seeing them roll around over the top of him. So Zanaska, Hoyas van Els look like they all want to keep hold of the group, keep the pace high. The spoiling tactics coming from the UAE clan team, they're going to need to get this actually. They're going to need that gap, because we have got teams that can challenge behind in Category 1. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed to see who's going to take what as they come in and through. But this should be the UAE clan teams to lose in terms of Category 1. It's then about how much can they take. How many of those top 5 positions can they take as well? So NASCAR leading the chase behind 7.5 watts per kilo, 8.5 watts per kilo. So NASCAR is coming. Can he close the gap down? But they're all closing the gap down on Dadson. Dadson has been out at the front. Remember, Category 4, they might have been the first riders away, but he's had to ride for 1 hour, 40 minutes.
900 metres to go, Dadson gets caught by the Category 1 race field.
What a ride by Mike.
Mark Dadson, absolute hats off to you. Phenomenal racing today.
He's just got to get the win in his category.
That's it, but the Category 1 race field have gone up and past. We're into the last 800 metres, 700 metres of racing, and Knudsen is now leading this out. Zanaska's on his wheel. Vink is there, Van Elst, Hoyers, Popovic, Norin and SS. They are strung out down the road as Knudsen continues to lead them through. Zanaska is not going to let him go. Neither is Stefan Van Elst.
So here we go. This is the run through underneath the banner for 500 metres to go. And it's Knudsen with Zanaska trying to hold on to Michael Knudsen's wheel. Michael Knudsen has been so quiet as almost to be in mime as he came up here. But now he's showing his colours. He's showing the power. He's on the front. So Zanaska with the red hair goes over the top of Michael Knudsen. And this is going to be the run for the line. Is he going to make it? Zanaska's going to take this. Is he? He's coming on his heels. Zanaska's trying to hold on. That is going to be a photo finish. What a ride as they come through. I think Michael Knudsen has taken it there. He has. Knudsen takes it by fractions of a second from Zanaska. Hoyos in third, Van Elst in fourth, Vink in fifth. What a finish, what a run to the line, and that was all about timing. Wow, we're going to have the leads in all our categories on this run to the finish here on the Jebel Hafi. What a run into that finishing line here today.
Well, Mark Dadson is pretty much finishing now too, but it's Michael Knudsen taking the win in Category 1. 1 hour, 20 minutes, 23.397 seconds. And I'm going that far down because it is 0.153 of a second to Lucas Zanaska. So Knudsen takes it in the sprint on the line from Zanaska. Phenomenal racing. Juan Hoyos in 3, Stefan Van Elst in 4, Michael Vink in 5, Johan Norin 6, Pablo Popovic in 7, SS, who did that leading work, coming in 8th place.
And what a contest in the team competition. 4 different teams in the top 4. Yet again, the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club does the business on the finals for August. Please do make sure you subscribe to MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV, on the YouTube channel. Make sure you give MyWhoosh a follow on Instagram and on Facebook, my_whoosh on Twitter. You can catch up with me. It's at Matt Fixer Pain across social media as well as Strava and MyWhoosh. And we can catch up with Emma. Where can we find you?
You can catch up with me on Instagram at Biking Emma. Wow, phenomenal racing. I'm exhausted just watching it.
Well, if you want to be even more exhausted than memories of watching and calling it, make sure you jump on board. We'd love to have you with us on the Sunday Race Club. Jump on to Tune Up Tuesday, download, get hold, go ride the new Belgian World. It is stunning. Been out and around it. My legs might hurt, but it certainly dulled the pain. So please do come and join us on MyWhoosh. But from all of the team behind the scenes, the amazing guys who make the racing and the images happen, and from Emma and myself, a massive thank you to Kevin Poulton for joining us. We will be back next week with qualifier number 1 of September. Yep, it keeps on ticking. We're off to go grab ice cream and coffee. Thanks for watching some fantastic racing from all of the team. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.